ABC, Mark over here at Twangers Turntable. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Those that are new and those that are returning, appreciate you all. Just going to do a quick video here. I'm going to keep the introduction as brief as possible. One of the benefits of being in the VC is inspiration. Lots of inspiration to be found in the VC. I guess, as the saying goes, the greatest form of flattery is imitation. Not so much an imitation here, but inspired by Gary over at Physical Format Rock and Roll. I'll leave a link below with a thread he started a while back of 5 songs that we never tire of, that are maybe overplayed, but we never tire of. So cheers to that, everybody. Cheers, Gary. Great thread. So as I mentioned to one of my friends here in the VC, Simon over at Pieface, I think I'll take this thread and kind of run with it a little bit and do maybe 5 metal songs that are considered overplayed, I never get tired of. This particular episode, I'm just going to stick with 5 Maiden songs that are maybe considered overplayed, but I never get tired of them. I'll completely transparent here, my favorite band, so I never really get tired of any of them. So I've chosen 5. I've chosen 6, one honorable mention, but you'll notice a theme right away. I tend to lean towards the early years of Maiden, from their debut to the first 6, 7 albums, are more in my wheelhouse than the stuff that came later. The formative years, the first few albums, I typically am reminded of people, places, and things in my life at that time, and of course those are nostalgic and very meaningful. But a lot of my old buddies back home that we got into the metal scene, and the first few albums, were more in line with that new wave of British heavy metal sound that we all loved. And well, I'm saying we all, I'm generalizing, I apologize. We didn't all love that. Like anything, it's really subjective to when one starts listening to a band. Your ranking or your favorites will differ vastly. That's understandable. And this is not a ranking. I don't really do rankings, with the exception of the Zeppelin thing we did for Steve over at All the World's a Stage. And that was just a soft ranking, if you will. That changes so frequently. And that's just the way I am. The favorite happens to be the one I'm listening to usually. But with Maiden, it's a little different. I do have my favorites. I'm not going to rank these. I'm strictly going to do them in terms of when they were released, so chronologically. And I'll do 5 with one honorable mention. And so I'll leave it at that for the intro. And what I'm going to do is similar to my other video of 5 that were maybe overplayed but never get tired of. I'll try and do a needle drop for each tune that I represent here. And hopefully it'll go off without a hitch. If it gets blocked for whatever reason, then this video will be drastically shorter. I'll just be showing the albums and mentioning the songs. So let's get to it. No better time to do it than the present. Cheers, everybody. And as I alluded to, I'm going to start off right from the debut. And of course, the only album with Dennis Stratton to appear. Of course, this was always Steve Harris's band right from 75. He was the only constant member. But yeah, this lineup, this album, their debut was the only one that featured Dennis Stratton on guitar. Him and Murray doing the pairing on this album. As is the case with any of these albums I show, I could choose any song. I never get tired of any of them, but that's my Maiden fandom coming out. But I did choose Running Free. It's been a staple in there. I don't know what their set list is these days, but for many, many years when I saw them, it was always in their set list, Running Free. And who could argue? I could have gone with Phantom of the Opera. That's another one of my favorites, classic Maiden. But yeah, for this one, it's Running Free. So I'll drop a needle on that right now. I hope you enjoy. Number two, we're going to follow with number two. The next, their follow-up album, Killer album. But again, could choose any song on this album. Of course, this introduces Adrian Smith on guitar, doing the tandem with Murray, and it stayed that way for many, many years until Yannick came on board and Smith left. But that's for another video. On this one, I chose Prodigal Son just because I love that song. I always have. And it kind of changes the pace a little bit here for the video. It's kind of like making a mixtape, right? But so Prodigal Son on this one, could have chose any, and that's going to be the case with any of these records. Like I say, I may be repeating myself, but I'm a true Maiden fan, so I could play any of these songs, and I never get tired of them. So we'll go with Prodigal Son, and I'll drop that now. Hope you enjoy. The third in the discography, obviously, Number of the Beast. On comes Mr. Dickinson on vocals, and this is where they really explode it, right? With the title track, Number of the Beast, Hallowed Be Thy Name, 22 Acacia Avenue, Children of the Damned. I mean, goes on and on and on. Run to the Hills. You know, it's been said to death about Total Eclipse or whatnot. I've heard the reissue, and you know, I just can't imagine this anymore without it being the way it was when we first heard it. So yes, I love that song. I always have, but the way it originally was is my preference. But that's getting off on a tangent. That's just from a Maiden's point of view. Well, not even a Maiden's point of view, just from the way I first heard it point of view. On this one, I decided to go with Hallowed Be Thy Name. Pretty close to my favorite Maiden song of all time. Again, rankings are pretty fluid when it comes to Maiden for me. They change frequently. And I don't even know if I have a number one. In fact, no, I don't have a number one. There's just too many. So yeah, we'll go with Hallowed Be Thy Name for this one, and hope you enjoy. And if you're following along here, you're getting the theme. So the fourth one is obviously from the fourth record, Peace of Mind. On comes Nico, and is there a better example of a man joining a band on an instrument and being, you know, right off the top, where Eagles Dare, Nico comes in, and coming from a point of view of somebody who was there and heard this when it was released, you knew it was different. I mean, there was obviously, I was always a huge Clive Burr fan, still am, rest in peace. But Nico just brings that different element to it. And for many, there's going to be a segment of fans who prefer this forward as opposed to prior to this. Me, the older I get, I tend to sway more towards the older stuff. The first couple of albums with Di'Anno and Burr on drums, just because it seems more true to that original new wave of British heavy metal sound. But I like them all. I wouldn't be able to choose if pushed into a corner or put into a insane asylum trying to choose. With this one, I went with Revelations. Always loved that song. Again, could choose any song on here. It is probably at one point, this was my favorite Maiden album, and it's still pretty damn close because there's very little that separates them. So I'll leave it at that. We'll drop the needle on Revelations. I hope you enjoy. It's such a killer tune. The whole thing is killer. But there's my fandom again. Cheers, everybody. Number 5, of course, I remember when this came out, just somewhat of a departure, honestly, given you have to put yourself in that time frame, or at least that's my perspective on it anyway, as I recall it. A teenager at the time, this coming out, it was certainly a bit of a departure from the discography prior to this. Mind you, they'd only had 4 albums prior to this. But I think by this time, Steve Harris is actually starting to write lyrics while he's thinking about Dickinson delivering those lyrics. That's my take on it anyway. But they're really coming together here as a band. And again, repeating myself, but for many years, this would become my favorite album. This tour was, well, Live After Death. I mean, the Power Slave tour, just incredible time. To this date, I don't think they've ever done more tours than on this World Slavery Tour. I think they did 195 dates or something, just incredible. But I'm going to choose one of my buddy Reggie's old favorite songs. Shout out to Reggie back in Minto, New Brunswick. 2 Minutes to Midnight. We played the hell out of this album, as we did with all of them. But I know Reggie really digs that song. So this is for you, my friend, and I hope you all enjoy 2 Minutes to Midnight. And the honorable mention. Again, the next up, somewhere in time, 86. Again, when this came out, it was, again, I'm saying again a lot. It's just trying to put this in perspective. And I'm not always the greatest at articulating what I'm thinking. But when this came out, it was markedly different. I mean, this is the introduction of their synth sound on here. And I got to say, initially, I wasn't, it didn't move the meter for me the same way. I didn't jump off the Maiden ship, but it certainly took me a little longer to accept it, if you will. I love it. In hindsight, I mean, it's one of their best of their discography, but they've also done many more since then and had, but anyway, that's the perspective of having hindsight, right? But I'm going to choose Wasted Years off here. It seems appropriate. They were just coming off that World Slavery Tour, and they'd been on the road so much, and the Wasted Years theme of being on the road so many days a year, and that, I mean, this just iconic artwork, you know, where it represents all their albums leading up to this one, and the road that entailed, you know, getting here. Some may say this is their opus, but again, very subjective to when you are introduced to Maiden. I love it much more than I ever used to, but it wouldn't rank in my top 5, but pretty damn close. Here I am with the rankings, and that ranking would change quite. It's anyway. Disregard that. I can't say that without cracking a smile, because it's just so ridiculous to say. Yeah, any song on here you could choose, but I just went with, I think, what most people would recognize, and that's Wasted Years. No deep cuts here, just the most popular. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll drop the needle now. And there you have it. There's 5 I never get tired of from Iron Maiden. I'm gonna try and do a few more of these. I hope Gary approves. Maybe he won't ever see this, but as Gary likes to say, I think on the merits of this video alone, it'll hold up. But let's keep the thread going. If you're interested, you know, doing another 5 you never get tired of, let's do it. Let's do this thing. I mean, it's awesome thread, and there's so many songs I could do, you know, probably 50 videos just on this theme alone. And who knows, I might. I'm going to choose different artists. I'm going to choose maybe a couple of different genres, whether that be new wave, rock, metal. I don't know. I'm much more open to different genres these days. And genres are so, let's just say it, they're kind of stupid anyway. I mean, I was such a metalhead back in the day. I ignored a lot of other stuff, and that was to my detriment in hindsight. But hey, had a good time doing it. So I hope you had a good time watching it. And let's see what you got. Cheers again, Gary. Cheers again, VC. Hope you're all doing good. And we'll see you next time here at Twangers Turntable. Take care, everybody. Cheers.